ain't going back. Not gonna buy into all that. Hey, ain't gonna hide. Gonna let all the fears slide. Got mother nature, it's on my side. Got all of the loving growing inside.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the New Now. I'm delighted to have Tony Sayers back with us. We're going to continue our conversation on New Age nonsense and how that can be a detriment to your own personal growth and evolution. And today we're going to talk about dead ending the New Age. Hey, Tony.
Hey, I wish we could dead end the New Age once and for all.
Yeah, wouldn't that be good? Yeah. Well,
I'd have a lot more free time.
well, let's see. Like you've been working in your work, I've noticed, to dead end the New Age for your, shall we say, customers, the people you work with. A lot of the you've been showing, let's say, the bricks in the wall. I guess that's a good way to put it, by exposing each of the New Agers. So,
Yeah.
instead of saying these are the way through, you're going, hey, look, another dead end brick in the wall, and it's this person or this topic or that website or YouTube channel. So, what do you think it means, to dead end the New Age, and why does it take people into that cul-de-sac where they can't go any further? I know you've chatted about that quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, just on the review side of what I do, I don't do it to be an asshole. I do it because I worked and I see and I get emails every day of people being harmed from all these different new age modalities
Mm,
and cults.
mm,
For example, I had an email today from a lady who is really concerned because her daughter-in-law or something has gone off with, I don't know if you know Eldora and Siman, but I did a review video on them a couple of months back. And that she's gone to Croatia with her daughter to join the cult there that's going on, and like left everything. And she's like, "What can I say? What can I say to? I've watched your video, like, I've been, and I'm really concerned." And I'm like, "Well, really, there's not really a lot you can say because when people are in a cult, the only thing that's going to get them out of it is a really bad experience." Because the more you try and tell people, a lot of the time, the more they'll dig in. So the good thing is with I guess the work that I'm doing, it's just there. I'm not like particularly like forcing people. I'm just putting it out there, and a lot of the people that are coming across it, they're ready. They're asking questions. Things aren't adding up with a lot of the stuff that they've been taught in the New Age, so they're kind of prime for re-education. But when you have a situation where people are deep within it, and they're under this, what I call like New Age spell, this false white light spell, which is, I would say, an actual energetic frequency that is distorting their consciousness. And I can say that you can actually sense and tune into that and see that playing out in people,
mm,
especially when you look at the eyes. I often talk about the eyes with a lot of these New Age teachers, like the lights are on, but no one's home. There's like this haze. And this is what people are falling into. They're falling into this spell, this haze, which is trapping their consciousness energetically into, as we say, another brick wall or a cul-de-sac. And so it really takes something big to snap someone out of that. And of course, there's a lot of resistance. And I liken it to when I was vegan. Um, the veganism, as far as I'm concerned, is a cult. And I was heavy into that. And there was nothing, no one would have convinced me
mm.
of, our species specific need to eat animal products at the time. I was completely sold. I was so deep down that rabbit hole and so dug in to it, and I'm embarrassed a little bit about it now. But you live and learn, right? But the only thing that snapped me out of that was my own poor health declining so badly, to the point where my memory declined so badly that I'm like, hang on a minute, I'm supposed to be on the quote unquote healthiest diet here. I'm eating all this kale, all this rabbit food, like all these salads. Like, what's going on here? And you know, I had deteriorated so badly and so quickly that I had to look at things again.
Mm.
And often you find that the people that actually leave these cults and the stories that I hear, it takes something really, unfortunately, something really bad for the penny to finally drop.
Mm.
And then they start asking questions. But as I say, a lot of people are really, you know, questioning the things they're being taught there because they're not seeing their life moving forward.
Mm.
They're in many cases going backwards energetically and just in their physical lives. And so, you know, that's also good to see. Just organically, there seems to be people that are ready for what I refer to as an awakening from the false awakening, which is what the new age is. So I completely forgot what your question was.
No, no, it's you know,
I
we're
went off on
talking
a
about.
tangent.
No, no, all good. Let's say, why do you think so many people get caught going down this cul-de-sac
Oh
thing?
yeah, that was the question, right? Yeah. Well, the reason that they get caught down this cul-de-sac is because it just feels so good, right? It just feels so good, and the new age really
What do you
is.
mean? What do you mean? Like, how did you
Well,
get in the cul-de-sac of
well,
veganism? Let's say, you
well,
know.
I mean, veganism got me through my empathy because I watched those documentaries that they put on Netflix, which, you know, really we shouldn't be taking anything on Netflix seriously because it's cult owned. But I watched a couple of those documentaries, and when you see the things and you know, although I eat meat and stuff again now, I'm not an advocate of factory farming. I buy organic and
Mm-hmm.
promote you know, grass fed without all the antibiotics and all the crap that goes in it. But they got me big time with my empathy because that's a strength for me, and it's a weak spot. And when you watch those documentaries of, you know, what they do in those factories, you wouldn't be human if you didn't
Mm.
you didn't empathize with that. And so yeah, that's how I got hooked into that. But the new age is different in the fact that it it feels good to people because they don't really have to do any hard work on themselves or face any shadows. They can just pray to Archangel Michael. They can just say 100 affirmations in half an hour. They can think love and light. They can just keep their. All they need to do really to progress in their eyes is to keep their vibration high. So that means not looking at anything negative because you quote unquote will draw more of it in, which is a massive deception, one of the worst ones, because you know what you resist, you persist. And I always use the example: if you break your leg, you're not just going to leave it swinging. You're going to go and get it plaster casted so you don't get gangrene and have it chopped off. But they are being told, look, you know, don't look at anything negative
Mm.
because you'll draw more of it in. It will lower your vibration, which will mean that you will end up in like a that you will end up staying in this 3D matrix, and you won't be able to quote unquote ascend to the fifth dimension where the new Earth exists and everyone is you know, getting high on unicorn farts and rainbows, the rainbow bridge, and all that kind of stuff. So if you're someone with a lot of trauma and someone comes along and says, hey, look, you don't have to worry about what happened to you when you were 5 years old, just focus on this. If you need help, Archangel Michael's there, or you've got the Arcturians over there, they're going to support you. Or your guides are always on hand. So that takes the decision making process away because, and I still get it today, people asking their guide stuff. I mean, guides are just entities masquerading. And so it's hooking people in to all this feel good factor, which is based on nothing, and in fact, actually based in evil, because all these things that people are connecting with are, you know, in my experience, 10 years almost in clearing this stuff, they're just entities masquerading of the light, the false white light. but they make people feel good. You know, people, because they're so traumatized and because this planet is so difficult right now, even before all of this. I mean, it's completely wacky now, but it's very difficult, even if you haven't got a lot of trauma, to be here right now and witness what's going on. And especially if you know the agenda, it's way easier to just check out, spiritually bypass things and think love and light, and just hope that you end up on in the new earth, and you know, you ascend out of this matrix by doing absolutely nothing.
I think you made a really good point, though. So, in with your vegetarianism or your veganism compared to this, do you think, like, I think people are naturally loving, right, or empathic, or and they want.
Yeah.
Do you think? And I would say yes, but I would like to get your take on the New Age tricking people through their love into this nonsense and bullshit, taking advantage of their desires, let's say, to trust and to love and to be part of community, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, they play on all of that, but it's fake. It's all fake. Like it's false white light, and they come across fake and false. I mean, some of the new agers that I review, they've got hundreds and thousands of followers, taking manifestation courses and going on these retreats, and the stories that I've heard. But when you see them speak, you don't feel the heart energy. They say, I love you, and you know, all this, we love you, and we care about you, and we're a family. But I don't get the feels. I don't get the feelings behind their words. Their words are empty, and that's something that I would encourage people to try and tune into. If people are still sort of into that stuff, like, what's the feeling behind the words coming through? Because when I review them, I just feel a whole load of emptiness coming from these people, and it's not based in any kind of genuine love or genuine feeling. So they throw the word love out, love and light, and all these buzzwords, but there's not a lot behind it in my experience.
Well, do you have any tests that you could suggest? I mean, like I'm like you, like I can feel the bullshit, you know, a mile away, or I can smell it coming now, or the unicorn farts, so they don't smell as well as they're supposed to. But so let's say there's a lot of people that are, you know, walking towards this dead end. They haven't reached the bricks yet, though. You know, they haven't reached. And you say you can see their eyes are empty. Me too. You know, you can feel their promises hollow. Me as well. But how did you get to a point, you know, that you can discern, you know, the honest from the dishonest? And what would you suggest to people that are maybe going, you know, I can hear the people screaming now, but I like, you know, ET, we'll say that, and that's just some initials of a fellow, or I like, you know, the lady from the future that you've talked about, right? I've got people supporting them, or this guy and this girl. What do you mean the Arcturians aren't going to help me? Of course I can hear my spirit guides. So how did you learn to discern, and what would you suggest to people listening so that they can maybe, you know, wake up and smell the unwashed unicorns?
Well, I mean, first of all, I had my own bad experiences with the false light. I've been blinded by the false light as well, way back. I mean, I was into Reiki at one stage, so people forget that, you know, I was into it. I wasn't into it massively, but I was into it enough. But you know, I was at one point, you know, into Arcturians and stuff like that, and I just saw a trend where I wasn't feeling great, and you know, I saw other people around me not feeling great, and I'm like, well, hang on a minute, this isn't really great, then, is it? It's like, and then it was weird because once I had those realizations, everything else snowballed, and you know, obviously down the years, I've seen trend after story after story after story after story of people that have either connected with spirit guides, loved ones, angels, aliens, and they're all feeling drained. A lot of the time, their lives go from bad to worse. Like there doesn't seem to be like an uphill climb with their lives. It's all downhill from when they started connecting with these. I mean, I've told the story before where there was one guy who thought he was dealing with his dead dad or connecting with his dead dad, deceased dad. And he was convinced, and he was following all his advice. He ended up losing his business, his wife. He ended up having a car crash. I mean, his whole life just went to pot through the advice he was getting through what he thought was his deceased father. And you know, I have countless amount of stories of how they trick people and manipulate people. Other times where you know, a lady.
Who's the they? You mean the people, the New Agers, or their
Well,
guides?
I work with people that have come out the New Age, so I get to hear all their
So
stories.
how did
right?
this guy get tricked? Is what I mean. It's like,
Well,
was somebody
he
channeling his
thought he
father,
was
or
yeah, he thought he was channeling, right? And he was like, I'm convinced. I was convinced it was him. I was getting this information. He knew things
gotcha,
about me. He knew things about me that no one else would know because the entities know. They know things about us.
right?
And so yeah, that happened. And then there's other stories of where, you know, a prominent New Age lady at one point was channeling Archangel Michael, and she was getting all these through his messages, getting everyone hooked into this false white light grid that was siphoning off their energy, and yeah, other stories of people where they've thought they were connecting in with different entities, and it always ends in tears. That's the common denominator. It always ends up in tears. And there may be what I call like a false high for a while. They have to give you a bit of sugar to keep you coming back, but there is always the inevitable crash. And so yeah, it's time after time after time, and then we see it when we die in terms of the false white light and everything like that. And I would encourage people to check out Forever Consciousness YouTube channel. I don't know if you're subscribed over there, but he actually does a great job of reviewing NDEs, and we see the same trickery going on there, where, you know, these entities are showing up as massive, gigantic Jesus figures and deceased ones, and then they talk about where there's a waiting room of souls waiting to come for their life reviews and then coming back round. So there's like two tunnels. There's a tunnel of souls going into this waiting area, and then there's this other tunnel coming back, like two roads coming back, the souls going back into human bodies, and all these tales of people coming back where, you know, they've had these experiences with entities. So a lot of it comes from experience of working with people and hearing all these horror stories. But so what people really need to do, to go back to your initial question, is really strengthening that muscle of discernment. So as humans, we are way too trusting, and we have been way too trusting. I mean, you see what goes on with, like, the politicians. We go to the voting booths every time, and we get let down. Then we go back to the voting booths. I don't know if it's trust or it's just stupidity or what, but we tend to just not trust our own intuition and our own thoughts, really. And that becomes an issue when we live in a sea of disinformation and misinformation, and everyone's vying for our attention and trying to lead us here, there, and everywhere. So we really have to become masters of discernment, and it's a lost art. It really is a lost art. Humans in general have really forgotten how to think, the actual process of thinking. And if you've ever heard of the trivium, that's a very interesting way, and a good way of looking at how we should discern information. But I always say to people, and this really applies to New Age, because the New Age feels really good, it's separating what feels good to what feels true. And there's a real big difference, because what often feels true doesn't always feel good.
No,
But
doesn't.
but that's where we have to be courageous enough to go, okay, it hurts, that stings, but it feels true. So I'm going to go there. But what happens is people have a left and right, and the New Age is like, it gives you all the feels, and the truth's over here. And it's like, that feels good. That feels way better than looking at that. So I'm going to go over here. So this is where people are getting trapped. They're taking the left road into the cul-de-sac because it feels all gooey inside, the rainbow farts and all that stuff. But the right side, where perhaps it's not going to feel good, there's going to be some turmoil. Perhaps you're going to have to face things you don't want to have to face. Looking at the darkness. But that's where the truth is, and that's really ultimately how we're going to get free. So it's really relearning how to think and learning those discernment skills. How does that person feel? How does that information feel? Does it feel true? Does it resonate? Not does it feel good? And I think the more of us that continue to do that and strengthen that muscle of discernment, we're going to make better decisions, not only for our own lives, but as a collective, the more of us move into that kind of sovereign way of thinking.
Let's look at the darkness. I like that you brought that up. So you say people are going in the wrong way because they don't want to look at the darkness. So maybe, in your opinion, what do you think that darkness is that people have inside them? Why is it there? What is it there? Why do they need to look at it? Where did it come from?
Well, I mean, we all have darkness, and yeah, I'm not sitting here saying I'm fully healed and a ball of light or what have you. I've still got my blind spots, but I work on them. I have sessions with a lady in Canada, and my life's changed so much since I've faced the things that were holding me back, and I've been doing that a good few years now. And it's not easy. It's not nice. I mean, I haven't had anything like as much trauma as some of my clients. Down the years, I've worked with all kinds of people that have had, ritual abuse and all kinds of stuff that unimaginable. But I've seen and worked people that have gone through the process of starting from scratch, not wanting to look at it, but going through it. Sometimes it takes months, years, but they come out the other side a completely different person, more empowered, more sovereign. And that's what I'm talking about, in the sense of that's the hard route. That isn't angels, that isn't archangels going to sort everything out for us. My guide's just going to tell me to sit on a rock and sing Kumbaya, and that's going to heal my trauma. That me going to the jungle and taking jungle juice, a cup of jungle juice, and then years of trauma and abuse just disappears.
No.
That feels good, and that's easy, which is why people gravitate towards it. But it's not really where the gold is. The gold is really facing those things on a deeper level and transmuting them and alchemizing them. So we do then become true anchors of light, because in the new age, they will tell people that they are anchoring the light, which I feel is a half truth, because I do feel that once you have transmuted a certain amount of darkness within you, I do believe that you do become an anchor of light, and you do hold a frequency that is not higher in the kind of egoic way, but just a more, oh, you've disappeared.
I'm still here. I just kind of hit a thing. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. But I don't know. It's almost like you're embodying sovereign energy. And I think that's where we need to go. We need to become self-sovereign. They've stolen the term sovereignty and used it for their, corruption, royal families and all of that. But the word sovereignty is very important for us people in the freedom movement, because that is the energy, that is the frequency that we want to embody. So that's all the things that you were talking about earlier, self-responsibility, taking action, courage. Like, we have to define, instead of spirituality, why not have sovereignty? I like that way more, way more. So I'm trying, I don't even like the term spiritual these days. I way prefer the term sovereign. And part of that is embodying the fact that we are energy and we don't die. But it's not this kind of fakeness which spirituality has built itself on now. And I'm really keen and really excited about the amount of people now that are starting to have that awakening from the awakening and starting to move into that sovereign mindset where we're discerning information, the other things that we spoke of. We have to define the whole thing into a new way of thinking, away from this fake spiritual that was set up by our controllers. When you look at the roots of it, Helena Blavatsky, she was a Luciferian, all the teachings in there. But and I've said this so many times, it's genius what they've done with that New Age movement.
It really is. Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't have designed it better. The way they have done that, the things that they have done, that they've tapped into every weak part of our psyche, and pulled it into this cul-de-sac. And it just goes to show the brilliance of humans in their expanded consciousness, that despite the amazing trick, the amazing deception, there are hundreds, if not thousands of people every day waking up from that. And that's a testament to us and our power, which is also something that I'm really big on at the moment, is we need to remember who we are. And we need to stop playing so small. We have such a low opinion of ourselves, not only many of us individually through trauma, not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy. That's a big wound that most people carry. But we're constantly being told from governments that there's too many of us here, we're destroying the planet, we're causing all these issues. And when you talk to people about this, like the average Joe on the street, they'll say to you, yeah, there's too many of us here. Yeah, we're over. Like the way we talk about ourselves and think about ourselves individually and collectively is, we consider us so weak and so powerless and so pathetic. And it's time to stop that. It really is time to stop thinking that we are powerless and that these parasites have all the power, because they don't. The only power that they have is the power that we give them. And these entities, they are terrified. They are terrified of us waking up to our true power, our true sovereignty. And what we need to do is we need to put all the savior programs in the bin, all of them. And we need to realize if I was to write one of the written tenets of sovereignty, it was, nobody's going to come and save us. That has got to be number one. If we're defining a new way of being, we got to put all of those savior programs in the bin and remember who we are. And people ask me, who are the good guys here? If there's no guides, if there's no angels, where's God? Jesus, who is it? It's us. Yeah. We're the ones. We're the good entities. We're the angels. We're the God force. This is the cosmic joke. We've been beaten down for so long, and we've completely forgotten who we are. And because many of us have had a lot of trauma and we haven't faced those shadows, it's very hard for people to accept when someone like myself comes along, or other people, and say, hey, you remember how special you are as a human and how great you are. We're multidimensional. We have all these psychic abilities, telepathic abilities, untapped, probably teleportation, healing abilities. We can heal ourselves to a certain degree, depending on the level of what's going on. But my point is that they want us to forget all of that. They want us to forget how creative we are. There's so many ways that we can get out of things with our creativity. Like when they created the internet, they didn't think for 1 minute that, the dumb humans, because that's how they perceive us, would use it to against them for podcasts like this and to raise awareness and things like that. So I'm really trying to encourage people now to just remember who they are as humans and as a human family. I'm sure when you look around and you go, walking on the street and there's people wearing masks, and we spoke about this off air, you know, kids wear, you think we're degenerate, you know, you can't help but think of it. And yeah, there are people that they have descended so badly, and we're probably going to lose a lot of those in the next few years. But there's a pool of people, and it's growing every day, that aren't degenerate, and actually they're going the other way. They're on the up, and they're becoming more expanded, and they're tapping into more concepts and ideas and creativity. And just as the dark is coming to the surface and being exposed, new ways are coming to the surface as well. New ways that we can explore and exploit technology to our benefit. Different things, like, you know, I talk about the patches and the using the healing, the light energy of the body to heal. That's just one example, but all these other things as well, that the alternative ways of healing. So, but there's also a lot of stuff that we need to be careful in that as well. So my point is that this isn't a game over by any stretch, and they know that. And this is why they have to do all the things that they do to us, physically, astrally, like constant mind control with the TV, constant bombardment of chemicals in the food, the water, the air. It's non-stop. They don't take a break. They don't have a weekend off.
No vacations.
Astrally, it implants entities trying to mess with us, trying to put us off our path, hijack our thoughts. So you can look at it two ways. Well, we're screwed. No, don't look at it that way. Why are they doing that? What is it about us as a species that they need to do all this to us? Because they know that they know who and what we are. And they know that when enough of us are in that expanded awareness and embody that sovereign energy, and we bin these stupid savior programs that have got us nowhere through history. How many times have we prayed and done these rituals and moon ceremonies, and like we're more enslaved than ever? Balance the chakras. Oh yeah, but Tony, the chakras were around in 1960. All right, well, how's that going?
How's that? Yeah.
Right. All this stuff, we need to start again. And I think we need to redefine things and redefine what it means to be human and spiritual. And I'm seeing more and more people moving into that sovereign mindset now. And I think the more of us that do that, that sovereign energy is uncontrollable.
I would agree.
It's not going to be dictated to. But we need to also do the work in order to embody that.
Well,
if you've got all this trauma blocking you from feeling sovereign and feeling like you're a powerful being, and you're part of something that is actually really great. It's just been beaten down for so long. It's hard to embody that unless you do the work on yourself.
Well, let's talk about trauma and blind spots. You know, I think we put it there ourselves, right? A lot of people, even the people I talk with today, you know, I do some work with others as well, and they say, no, it's not my fault. It happened when I was 5. It happened when I was 6. My parents were horrible. My priest was horrible, et cetera, et cetera. And in my opinion, you know, the trauma is in there because you let it in, right? And, you know, so maybe we should talk a little bit about blind spots. You mentioned something you're working on, and in relation to, okay, people are at this dead end. What do they do when they're there? What do their blind spots look like? And how, you know, you've given them a very good, let's say, inspiration for what they can be, right? But then I hear some people going, okay, that's great, Tony, you know, and I agree with everything you've said, by the way, just to put that out there. But I'm in this dead end. What do I do? All right. You know, what is my blind spot? How did it get there? And how do I recognize it and get over it?
Well, I mean, your blind spots are where you get triggered. Your blind spots are the negative thoughts you have about yourself. For example, if you don't feel good enough or don't feel worthy, there's parts in your shadow that at some point were made to feel not worthy and not good enough. That may have came from a parent. It may have been from at school. Maybe you were bullied or something like that. So that needs to be worked on. if you've got like a scarcity mindset, you know, that's something in your shadow where at some point there was a lack, for example. If you're a really controlling person, you want to control everything. You know it's not right, but you're controlling anyway. That's a part of you that needs to be healed, because at some point in your childhood, you weren't in control. So a very strong controlling part has come in to protect you. So you can see where you need to work when you look at the more negative aspects of your character. You know, if you've got a self-sabotage, you're in a relationship and you just start causing an argument for no reason. You don't even understand why you did it. Well, that's because your subconscious would rather you hurt yourself than someone else hurt you, because when you were younger, someone hurt you and you were out of control. So if you're constantly self-sabotaging, then you know that there's something you need to work on there. So it's through our more negative behavioral traits, that's where we need to look, and also where we get triggered. So if you get easily offended, then maybe there's something there that you need to work on, and also the patterns that we see in our lives. You know, if we're drawing in the same person over and over again in a different spacesuit, so we keep getting abandoned, and it's like, why do people keep abandoning me? Well, were you abandoned when you were 5, or what happened? So it's looking at the trends and the patterns in life, and just being more self-aware as to, oh my God, I got really defensive then. Where has that come from? Well, I got really triggered when that person said to me, what was it in me that needs to be healed, that got triggered?
Do you think perhaps they could have abandoned themselves at that point? I mean, that's something that I've been.
Yeah, a lot of people have abandoned themselves. And another interesting thing as well is people are, and this ties into what I was saying earlier. People have parts that are there that prevent them from shining their light, from being the true version of who they are supposed to be. There's all these blockages, which may be not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, wanting to hide. So what we do is we with all of that unhealed stuff, we end up just being 30% of who we truly could be if we healed ourselves. Because once those, I call them holographic imprints, the inner children and sometimes inner adults, once they're resolved and they're not stuck in trauma, and you've changed those holographic imprints, you start to speak a different version of you into existence, and you start to embody a different version of you in existence, and you become the person that you were supposed to become, because all your parts are healed, and so they're happy, and so internally you're expressing a much more stronger inner core. You see what I mean?
I do.
And so the issue is that we're fragmented. So many of us are fragmented from childhood traumas, that we're like Humpty Dumpty. So there's bits and pieces of us that are together, but there's still a whole load of broken bits, and we're trying to make it. While we're broken, it's almost like the thing that's coming to me. It's like someone running a marathon, but they've got like a sprained ankle or something. So they're like hobbling along, and allegorically, I think that's what's going on. And the more of us that can do that work, the more of ourselves we're going to embody. I call it like true essence. You're bringing that essence back, that childlike essence that we lose.
For sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we can circle back. I'm curious about one thing. If you know the ending of the story, that fellow that was channeling his father, you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, and lost his wife, lost his job, what happened with him? Like, how is there a happy ending, so to speak? Did he finally figure out, like, how did he get to a point where he could embody everything we've talked about in this conversation through that horrible experience he had with the New Age?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, with him, it was a few years ago that I worked with him. So I haven't spoke to him recently. So I'm going to be honest, and I don't know what his situation is right now. But I know at the time he was having all kinds of realizations around what he thought was benevolent beings. And I know for a fact that he quit trying to tap into other beings out there. So that in itself was progress. But I don't know if he fully went down the road of fully facing all his shadows and that kind of thing. But a lot of people I've worked with have done that. And the amazing thing is seeing the changes in people. Just a couple of examples. Actually, one guy I was working with, he's from my home county in the UK, in Essex, and he's a wonderful portrait drawer. And he had these parts of him, and I'm sure he won't mind me sharing, that wanted to hide away, didn't want to be seen, not good enough. But he was so talented. And over the weeks, slowly but surely, he's been gaining confidence. And now he's going to quit his job and he's going to move. He's moving house. He's going to do this for a living, this portrait work. And there's other people that are also starting different things and doing really what their soul wants them to do. Because when you've got those parts of you that are unhealed, you kind of you end up doing things that you don't really want to do a lot of the time. But when you become more internally balanced, it's almost like that healed inner child doesn't want you to do a half measure. It wants you to go out into the world and actually do what fills your soul with happiness.
How did he get from there to here? The portrait fellow, how did he get from having a bad job, let's say he didn't like, to following his heart's desires?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that he didn't like his job, but it wasn't. I mean, his passion is through art,
right?
So, but yeah, I mean, he just went through and he had a lot of trauma. He grew up without a mother or father for different reasons, so he had massive abandonment wounds. And so he's had to, what I call, reparent himself, go back to all those versions of himself, make the child feel safe, change that holographic imprint, and to the point where all his like little boys are in a good place now, and so they're feeling strong and ready to express themselves, which expresses him through himself to what he's doing now. So yeah, there's a lot of success stories, but a lot of people don't want to take up that work, and it's hard, and people don't want to face it. So, but it's the best road that you can walk, in my opinion.
I agree. I like the way you put it, because I've had a similar experience in healing the child inside, going back and talking to yourself. Like, what would you say to your 5-year-old now?
Yeah.
Right. And, in those experiences.
Yeah. But so there's many holographic imprints. So you would have maybe a 5-year-old, maybe a 7-year-old version of you when your dad first shouted at you. Maybe there's a 9-year-old version of you when you were at school and you got bullied. And maybe there's I've gone back into memories where I've been stuck in the birth canal at birth, because the way birthing's done, it's all unnatural. What that did, that created a scarcity part in me, because I thought I was going to run out of air. So I actually went back to this. Yeah, because the woman is supposed to squat, not lay. So the whole way birth is set up is satanic, right? They try and invoke as much trauma on the baby right from the get-go. So they have set up the birthing process in a very satanic way. So the woman's supposed to squat and lay. If you watch like animals, they don't like lay down, right? it just falls down, right? So. And then they cut the umbilical cord way too early, which is the baby's nutrition, access to nutrition. So that traumatizes. And then they whisk the baby off into an incubator in its vital moments of bonding, which causes massive abandonment, and all the other stuff that goes on. Probably they're ready with injections and all kinds of stuff now. I don't know what it's like, but the point is that the first moments for a baby on the earth. And I've worked with other people. I remember one lady I worked with. We went back to a memory, and she was stuck in the birth canal. And she was like, "Tony, I'm telling you, I don't want to come out. I'm speaking to my baby. She doesn't want to come out." I was like, she probably knows what this place is like. So, but when I went back and healed that part, my baby was so angry at not only my parents but the nurses and the doctors, and he was like, "This is so messed up. Why is it? But why is it? Why have you set it all up like this?" So there was a lot of anger there as well. But yeah, I mean, you can go back into the womb. A lot of us take our negative characteristics off from a parent. So if a parent has got a real deep sense of lack of self-worth, then that can be passed on to the baby in the womb. So that's the other reason to do the healing. If you're thinking about being a mother or father, that you're not passing that on to the next one in line, right? So it's so interesting.
Good point.
It's so vast and deep. All of that stuff on that level.
So I guess dead ending the new age, I guess, could be seen as, self-examination, or examining yourself way back down to your very first breath, even before, and how you were an angry baby. I like that, because I was very angry when I was young as well, at my parents, my religion, my schools, my friends, so-called at the time, and all of those things. And picking that up and healing myself is, allowed me to fly out of my dead end.
Yeah,
so to speak.
Yeah. I've had to work through a lot of anger, and I don't feel it anymore. And like I say, I'm not sitting here saying I'm fully healed. Actually, the thing that I'm working on at the moment is a lack of patience. And I noticed this about myself the other day. I was in a store here. The Mexicans are lovely people, but they're a little bit slow on some occasions. When you want to buy things, everything's at a really slow pace. And I'm standing in the queue. I think I went to buy some water or something, and it's taking ages. And there's people with all kinds, and they've got one person working, and I'm thinking, why is there not many? Why is there only one person working? Why haven't they got more staff? And I'm getting het up in the queue, and then all of a sudden I'm like, Tony, where is this coming from? Where is this impatience coming from? And so when I have my session next time, I'm going to look at that and explore why I have that. But so yeah, anytime you spot something about yourself that's not really, because when you have things like that, it's an energetic charge that is detrimental to you.
Yes.
So that impatience, it's not doing me any favors, because energetically I'm wasting energy, and it's not a good energy, right? And so the more you work through those and you heal them, you become the calm through the storm. So I'm a lot calmer in general in most things, but I did notice that there's still a bit of impatience that I need to work on. So
well, I like the fact that you're still working on yourself. Like, I do the same. I have sessions with a friend who calls me out and my stupidities, my being, he says, "You're still being an asshole, Lorenzo," here and there, and you're not paying attention enough to hear, and you're not doing good. And it gets you angry at the time, but when I sit and meditate the next day, I go, So maybe that's one of the answers to the questions we posed at the beginning of this chat, is how to help yourself out of the dead end, to see the bricks in the wall, in that even people like yourself and like myself that are working to help, let's say, by sharing our stories, we're still working on ourselves at the same time.
Yeah, I think you have to be honest with yourself. And most people on this planet, they're not even honest with themselves. They bullshit themselves. And, unless you're honest with yourself, you're never going to get to where you need to get. And being honest with yourself might not feel good, because you might have realizations about yourself that, oh God, I need to change that. That's not working for me. Or, this partner in my life is just dragging me down, and maybe I should leave them. Or, sometimes we have to make really, really big decisions, but they're always best in the long run. It's your soul speaking to you, but oftentimes we ignore what the soul's saying. But the soul can see far, far greater than the mind. And I'm not demonizing the mind, but the soul knows in the long run that if you make certain changes, then the good times will come. But we kind of resist. We resist for short-term gain, So and absolutely, like, having people around that call you out, and I love friends like that. You know, Tony, you're being an arse. Really? Yeah, right. And yeah, of course, like if I'm out here telling people to heal, I'm damn right sure I'm going to be doing the healing on my own self. I don't want to be one of these new age hypocrites, you know. So yeah, it's we can all get there. It just takes a bit of work.
That's great. I think maybe we've come full circle in this conversation, and that when you get to a dead end, realize it's not really a dead end. You know, there's always work to be done. You know, if you're alive, there's always growth. There's always more light to put into your body, always more truth and honesty. You know, I would say that comes even before sovereignty. You know, without honesty, you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. And I love self growth. I love finding life hacks and like little ways that perhaps we can extend our life. And I find it being human is difficult, but I love the challenge of it as well, and I love trying to find those little life hacks.
I think that's the key to share with people. I found that myself. Like the pain that you want to run away from, or the pain that you want to face, you know, after you do it, you feel so good afterwards. You feel 10 times stronger, 10 times more energetic, 10 times, you know, your imagination. So really, you know, in facing the pain, we've been tricked, you know, by, you know, the bombs of the day, we'll say, you know, have a beer or chase another lady or, you know, or just, you know,
The woman in red.
yeah, go buy a faster car and you'll be all right. Have another vacation. Instead, you know, when you face yourself, you know, what you're really after in those temporary, you know, pleasures is what you really get 10 times even more, and you get to keep them forever.
Yeah, yeah. And just you know, a lot of the time people, they engage in habits like you mentioned, alcohol and weed and drugs and sex and things like that, because they're trying to escape themselves. They're trying to escape themselves because they haven't done the work on the parts of them that need to be resolved, which when you resolve, you won't want to escape yourself. So once you've done a good amount of work on yourself, you can just sit there on your own without anything and be happy as Larry, because all your parts inside are happy. So that's the other reason why, you know, giving up habits cold turkey without doing the inner work is really always, it's not always effective, because all right, you might give up smoking, but you might take up overeating because the wound's still there,
right?
And the entities will hook into the wound, turn the volume up, and they'll be like, Lorenzo, just have that extra glass of wine. You haven't got work in the morning, and you'll be like, yeah, why not? And then all of a sudden you've got more entity attachments. So it's all interrelated. The more we work on ourselves, the less ways that entities can get in as well.
Yeah, I find it's the opposite now, right? You know, I used to have a drink and I'd feel better, and occasionally I don't anymore. But when I do, I feel worse.
Oh,
because yeah, you know, even much worse.
I obviously I don't drink, but I did have one glass of wine about 4 months ago. I had such a busy week, like literally all week, and I was shattered. And then I went for a meal with my friend, and a moment of, it wasn't weakness because I wasn't going to get drunk or anything. I thought I'm just going to have one glass of red wine with my dinner, right? And I thought, well, anyway, I had a headache 3 days afterwards. So like, no, I definitely can't do that. But yeah, so the more you clean yourself up, the more alcohol affects you, especially.
I found that too. You know, one day I had a beer and I go, you know, and you feel shitty all day long and you go, it's crazy. You used to have 20 beers, you know, 30 years ago and want more. And now I have one, and I'm finding the same as you. It's like once you clean your body and you clean your energy, you know, and you clean, you know, your feelings, you'll find those bombs don't bomb you anymore. They do the opposite. They bomb you, B-O-M-B, let's say, instead of B-A-L-M.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, alcohol, God, what a destructive thing that is to society. What damage has that done down the years? Destroyed families, like the violence, killings. I mean, God, entities, and yet we continue to engage in it, and I don't know. It's crazy.
Well, what would you say as we're, let's say, tying things up into this dead end? Then, how would you leave it with our viewers? You know, dead ending the new age, understanding yourself.
I would say believe in yourself, and you know, remember you're a human, and remember what that actually means. Really, when I say remember, I'm talking really ponder on that fact. Sit there alone and think and remember who and what you are. And you don't need any of these savior programs or anything like these beings or anything like that. And do the work. You know, it's hard, but do it.
Yep. Go to Tony's site. There's so much there that can help you with this. He's setting up a course related to, I would say, this kind of work. I'm doing a course, govern yourself. Remember, you're fantastic and you're beautiful. There's nothing but help for you out there. And, Tony's one of the, let's say one of the good guys. And I appreciate getting to know him. And the more I chat with him, the more I'm understanding that we're very lucky that if you want to move away from being stuck or in a savior pattern, you can do it. As long as you're, as Tony said, sovereign, and you realize you're actually more fantastic than you've given yourself credit for.
For sure.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. I love you all very much. Tony, thank you. I'm happy to talk with you again as it's possible. If anybody has any questions for us or Tony, or wants to join his course or our course, I'll leave the information below. And we're so happy to have you here. Like and subscribe, come back, and be strong.
Can I just mention my website? It's transcendingtimes.org.
Yes. Yeah. Go there as well. I'll leave a link below as well for Tony's site, of course. And I appreciate you all very much. Tony, thank you again. I'm hoping to talk to you again very soon. Bye, everyone.
Can't make me lie to my heart. No one tells me where I should start. Freedom first is what I say.